David Perlman for the Whole Note Summer Studio here with Chris Donnelly. Influences. When I look at some of your playing, there are obvious people that come to mind. I mean, I say, oh, he's talking under his breath like Keith Jarrett and that section. I mean, one tends to think of people who, you know, role models in the abstract, you know, the great people whose discs maybe you grew up on. But who do you see as your key influences? Or how do you think of that topic of formative influences?
When I think about influence, or when I think about the arts in general, I think that the proliferation of art is dependent not just on, you know, superstars, you know, like the Keith Jarretts and the Oscar Petersons or the Glenn Gould, people who are recognized internationally. But I mean, I grew up in Toronto, and I didn't get to see Oscar play until I was in my teens. And so from when I was 3 until I was 18, I mean, I had other influences, but I had local influences. And when I'm teaching my students, and I realize that local artists in Toronto artists, Canadian artists are just as important and vital to the proliferation of arts as the superstars are, as the Oscar Petersons and the Glenn Goulds. And yes, I mean, my Oscar Peterson, I listened. He was my first hero, and Keith Jarrett and Bill Evans and all those. But what I really like to talk about are the people I like to talk about are the people I was going to the clubs to see. I would be at the Rex every Friday from when I was 16 all through university, watching Brian Dickinson play, Kirk MacDonald, Nancy Walker, Doug Riley, all these local artists, people who have shaped the Toronto music scene. And they've been there, and they've been consistently here, so that people like myself can go out to clubs and see the music, you know, whenever I wanted.
So what is it in the mentality of any town, because I don't think it's just Toronto, but it's certainly here, which says that for somebody to be seen as influential, there's got to be a from away good housekeeping seal of approval. Even if you're from Toronto, you have to have made it somewhere else in order to somehow become part of the upper echelon. What does that? Where you as a teacher might say something to a student and go in one ear, out the other, and they might hear the identical thing from somebody who's got this good housekeeping seal of approval, and it sinks in.
And that's happened before. I've told students things, and they haven't listened, but then they hear the exact same thing, you know, from Keith Jarrett saying the exact same thing on a YouTube video, and then it's eureka! Wow, this is an amazing thing, and I don't look at that as a fault of the students. I look at that as my problem. What I should have done as a good teacher was to show them the Keith Jarrett video. That's what I should have done. Right. The reason a student is studying with me, I mean, there's so many reasons why a student might be studying with me. I mean, I'm sure my first lessons, I've had first lessons where the student didn't even know who I was. There's nothing that I can do about that. I mean, that's a problem, but there's really nothing I can do about that. But my goal as a teacher is to do my best to make it click for them, not to tell them how awesome and amazing I am. Is to just make it click for them, and if that means me playing for them and me telling them what I know, then that's what I'll do. But if it means me telling them what Keith does, or what David Braid does, or what Kirk MacDonald does, or Oscar Peterson, then that's what I'll do. Like it's like unselfish teaching. It's not about me; it's about the student. I mean, on a deeper and from the student's perspective, it should be about the teacher and not about them. They should be listening to what I have to say, and I should be doing. You know, it's a relationship. It's a feedback. It's back and forth. So yeah, that's kind of how that's how I feel about that, that dynamic, and it's challenging, but that's how I manage it there.
Yeah.